Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Carvel. I'm gonna try to make this video 5 minutes or less possible because I know people's attention span is not very big. But one thing I wanted to mention that a lot of people don't haven't seen in the Bible or don't know in the Bible is before the 12, there was actually a lot more disciples, and we know this from John 6, verse 60 to 70, where there were many disciples that followed Jesus. I'll go through this Bible verse real quick so that you guys can get a better understanding. Of course, there's more to the message. You have to read the whole chapter, but I'll start from verse 60. And just to give you a little bit of context, Jesus is telling them about the bread of life. Jesus is telling them that unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can't go to the Father. You can't get to heaven. So his disciples hearing this, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, imagine if somebody came up to you and said, hey, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can't get to heaven. So that was a really that was really it has a very deep meaning, which in my next video I'm going to explain. But verse 60 goes, on hearing it, many of the disciples said, this is a hard teaching. Who can accept it? Aware that his disciples were grumbling about this, Jesus said to them, does this offend you? Then what if you see the Son of Man ascend to where he was before? The Spirit gives life. The flesh counts for nothing. The words I have spoken to you they are full of the Spirit in life. Yet there are some of you who do not believe. For Jesus had known from the beginning which of them did not believe and who would betray them. He went on to say, this is why I told you, no one can come to me unless the Father has enabled them. From this time, this is where it is. From this time, many of the disciples turned back and no longer followed him. You do not want to leave too, do you? Jesus asked the 12. Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. We have come to believe and to know that you are the Holy One of God. Then Jesus replied, have I not chosen you, the 12? Yet one of you is a devil. He meant Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, who through one of the 12 was later to betray him. And so this is a very important thing that we should understand, is that in disciple-wise, there were a lot of Judases. So Jesus gave the opportunity of all the disciples that were following him at that time to depart from him, to leave him. And Judas was supposed to be one of those disciples to leave, but he didn't. And that ought to say something to all of us, you, me, and everyone else, especially in the church, where there are people in positions that we got to understand that, and you should look in turn and look in your heart that maybe I'm in this position, but if I'm not living the right life and if God hasn't called me here, I shouldn't be here. That's extremely important because Judas is an example of why we shouldn't, be where we're not, be where we shouldn't be. Excuse me. So this is something that I kind of wanted to kind of give an idea to a lot of the Christians, a lot of the people that are probably starting off in understanding the Bible. That Jesus started off with many disciples. He had a lot of them, and a lot of them were following him around. But sometimes, sometimes not all of us are fit to follow as closely. Not a lot of us are fit to be at that high position that Jesus requires us to be. So that's just a message to us. And you can look this up. I recommend you guys to read all of John because beforehand, he's like, as I mentioned, he's talking about unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood. A lot of people at that time, that was a hard teaching. If I heard that, some man came up to me and told me that, that would be extremely hard teaching. But he did show and perform a lot of miracles. So that's depending on who you are. If you have any more questions, just send me a message and I'll get back to you.